Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about what we think of as the DC version of Marvel's big Civil War event. But before we get into it, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, and leave a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love to hear from you guys. We have an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, all that said, let's dive in. Prologue to today's story picks up where we left off last time when the DC characters are divided on whether they actually want Arthur to be the once and future king, or do they feel like having a king is a huge step backwards? And so that starts fight between the various members of JLU. And King Shark attacks Aquaman. So Aquaman fights back. And the Aquaman of Earth K is strong enough to survive the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench. And when we made our Aquaman stats back in the mid 90s, um, Aquaman, in my opinion, was the go-to character that people would use anytime they wanted to have an example of a comic book character who sucks, right? And so someone once said there's no such thing as bad characters, just bad writers, because a bad writer can't find a way to present that character in a way that appeals to others, right? So I tried to take on that challenge back when I was in college, and I wanted to remain true to the original vision that Aquaman's creator had. I wanted to respect him while also overcoming the negative opinion that was held by so many people at the time. And so our line of reasoning, and this would have been, I don't know, 1995 or 1996, somewhere around then. But our thinking was that the Earth K version of Aquaman could withstand about 8,000 tons of pressure per square inch. And according to the old DC Who's Who comic books, they said that Aquaman is 6'1" and weighs 325 pounds. So by our calculations, that meant he had 4,300 square inches of bodily surface, which we then multiplied by 8,000 tons. And so we concluded that our version of Aquaman then could withstand 34,400,000 tons, right? Which in DC Heroes, by the way, is 31 APs. But if we gave him like a strength of 31 and a body of 31, we thought that meant that he would then just be like pinned to the ocean floor alive, but unable to move, right? So, in other words, he would only have a dexterity of 0. We didn't like that, you know? And we kind of see this idea with various other powers in DC Heroes, like density increase, where uh, these concepts are proportional to one another. So then for him to have the 10 APs of dexterity that third edition DC Heroes said he had, we reasoned that he would then need a strength of 41 to be able to move around at 10 APs of speed, right? To be able to be that agile despite the crushing depths of the ocean. And I know that there's going to be a bunch of people who disagree with that math, and that's fine, right? I totally understand. But on Earth K, which is an Elseworlds, we're not Earth 1, we're not Earth 616, we're Earth K. And I thought that gave us a little wiggle room. So for better or worse, our version of Aquaman then has dexterity of 10, strength of 41, and a body of 41. Now, conversely, King Shark has more bodily surface than Aquaman. But after we did the math, we found that he could withstand 40,800,000 tons, which is actually still in that same 31 AP range, right? And this is again for that level where he has a dex of 0, right? So before I move on from that, let me just explain something really quick for anybody who maybe doesn't play DC Heroes and is confused by the idea of a range. Okay. So when we are talking about 1 AP of weight, if you look at the table, it basically says that if you had a character with a strength of 1, their max lift would be 1 AP of weight. And the high end of that range is 100 pounds. Okay. So if someone had a strength of 2, they could lift 2 APs of weight, which is 200 pounds, because this is an exponential system, right? But, there's this huge jump from 100 pounds to 200 pounds. So basically, the guy with a strength of 2 can lift anything between like 101 pounds and 200 pounds. Do you see what I'm saying there? So the 2 AP range would be like 101 pounds to 200 pounds. I suppose, really, if you think about it, it would be like 100 pounds and 1 ounce up through 200 pounds. You know what I mean? With the AP system, they are telling you the high end, and you look at the number before it to get an idea of where that started. And so what I'm getting at there is when the numbers get bigger, when you get up to something like 31 APs of strength or 41 APs of strength, you get these huge jumps then where the low end of the range is this many tons and the high end of that range is that many tons. You know what I mean? And so that's what I'm talking about when I say that Aquaman and King Shark are in that same range, So that means that despite their size difference, those two characters are actually on even ground mathematically in terms of strength and body. So then the difference between the two really came down to who was faster, and that was Aquaman. Plus, Aquaman is way smarter, and that helped him to go first in terms of initiative. Because when you're calculating a character's initiative, the first 3 attributes, up and down, get added together. So it's dexterity plus intelligence plus influence, right? And if you have martial arts or lightning reflexes, you get a +2 for both those. If you have super speed, you get to add your super speed. But you get the idea. Aquaman was faster. He went first. So on round 1, Aquaman rolled a 6 and a 5, which was a hit. And King Shark's body dropped from 41 to 31. Then King Shark attacked. He rolled an 8 and a 4, which was a miss. Aquaman hit back. He rolled a 9 and a 6, which hit. King Shark's body dropped to 15. King Shark fought back, rolled a 2 and a 9, and missed. Aquaman rolled a 5 and a 6, which was a hit. King Shark's body drops to 5. King Shark then rolls a 3 and a 6, which is another miss. Aquaman rolls an 8 and a 5, which hits, doing 13 points of knockout damage. So King Shark is knocked out on round 4. Next up, Apollo, the Authority, attacks Superman by substituting his solar powers for red sun radiation. And since we use the first edition DC Heroes stats for Superman, that leaves him with a body of 4. So Apollo hits Superman and the Man of Steel is knocked out. Batman then hits Apollo with liquid nitrogen, which is one of Apollo's weaknesses. And as he does this, Peacemaker tries to shoot Batman, which is Peacemaker's weaponry of 8 versus Batman's dex of 9. Peacemaker needs a 13 or better to hit, but he rolls a 3 and an 8, so he literally missed it by 1. On Batman's turn, he says he doesn't like guns. Peacemaker says he doesn't care. And Batman subs his martial arts for how hard he can hit, and then he kicks Peacemaker in the gut, rolling a 10 and a 5. So he does 6 points of damage, leaving Peacemaker knocked out, and his body is currently -1. While they are doing that, the Barry Allen version of the Flash fights the Meena, boy, I'm going to butcher her. I don't know how to pronounce her name yet. Mia, it looks like her last name is Dhawan. Her name is Meena Dhawan. At any rate, she's the Negative Flash. We just refer to her as Negative Flash. And she goes first. So she uses her power drain on Barry's super speed, rolling a 5 and a 6. So her own speed goes up to 31 APs while Barry's drops to 19. Barry then attacks, but he needs to roll a 21 or better to hit. He rolls a 1 and an 8. So he fails. And on Mina's turn, she goes again, draining another 6 points of speed from Barry, who now only has 13 APs of super speed, while Meena has 37. He fails to hit her again, so she goes once more, rolling a 9 and a 7, absorbing 10 points from Barry. He fights back but fails, so Meena finishes him off, so that for now, Barry on round 4 of their fight has no super speed left. On Green Arrow's turn, he fires an arrow at Batman, and he needs a 9 or better to hit. He rolls a 5 and a 7, which does hit, and Batman takes 3 points of damage. Batman throws a batarang at Ollie, but he rolls a 3 and a 4, which is a miss. Ollie then shoots Bruce with another arrow, this time rolling double 6s, which in DC Heroes means we keep that number and then we roll again. So then on the second roll, Ollie gets a 10 and a 2, which gives us a grand total of 34, which is a whopping 7 column shifts. So Batman is knocked out by Green Arrow. Oliver Queen then shoots Martian Manhunter with an Omni arrow that Ollie subs for Flame Being, which takes advantage of Jean's vulnerability to fire. Martian Manhunter's body is now 4 APs versus this attack, and the arrow does exactly 4 APs of damage. So Martian Manhunter is knocked out. And on that exact same turn, Manchester Black also had used a Mind Blast on him. Guy Gardner attacks Hal Jordan by subbing his APs of Force Manipulation for 18 APs of Energy Blast. Hal Jordan's dexterity is 8, so Guy Gardner needs to roll a 4 or a better to hit. Guy rolls a 2 and a 6, which hits. Hal Jordan's body of 12 drops to a 4. Then Hal Jordan basically does the exact same thing back to Guy Gardner, and he hits him with a 25 AP Energy Blast, rolling double 7s, then double 9s, and then a 10 and a 1 for a grand total of 43, which is 9 column shifts. Guy Gardner's body of 10 drops to 0, and Guy Gardner is knocked out. Hal Jordan then attacks Oliver Queen with another energy blast, but Ollie declares active dodge, which means for now his dexterity jumps up to 18 APs. Still, Al only needs a 5 or better to hit. He rolls a 2 and a 9, so Green Arrow is knocked out. Patriot, aka Steve Trevor, attacks Arthur Pendragon, but Wonder Woman manages to knock out Patriot. That is a fight that we talked about in great detail in the last video. While they are fighting, Green Lantern starts to substitute his Omni-Power of his power ring for regeneration usable on others. The opposing side sees this and calls a strategic retreat, not wanting to have to face the others once Hal gets them up and going again. So the negative Flash takes all of the knocked out characters to the Arrow Cave. And then Hal heals everybody on his team, which brings us to the epilogue. Brad Williams is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. When the VA shut down due to budget issues, LexCorp took over Brad's medical treatment. But every time LexCorp's doctors gave Brad an injection, there were always O.M.A.C nanites in the syringe. So as such, Brad, who, by the way, his code name was Killfrost because he was a sniper who could, quote unquote, stay frosty under pressure. So Brad is one of many veterans who is turned into an O.M.A.C against his will. And he is in a squad of O.M.A.Cs that are being led by former Marine Corps Sergeant Garcia. And these O.M.A.Cs managed to destroy the Rock of Eternity. And as a result of that, the Marvel family loses all of their powers. So for the first time in years, William Batson reverts into his alter ego. And since he was born in 1928, he is now 97 years old. And the shock to his system is so intense that he has a heart attack and is rushed to the emergency room, which is the cliffhanger we will end on today. We enjoyed playing this one. We hope that you enjoyed hearing about it. If so, as always, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. And from all of us here at the longest running superhero role-playing game on Earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure.